Hello, this is the Sheldon Heights Church of Christ History Project called the 90th Nine Voices. And I'm your moderator, Joseph Olalusi. And in this series, we'll talk to 9 different voices that'll ultimately bring us to date as to how Sheldon Heights and all its culture and all its impact have come to be in its 90th anniversary. Each episode will have its own theme and ultimately bring us to date on how the church came to be what it is today. Regardless of your religious background, regardless of your culture, we hope that this history project inspires you to realize that history is being made at this very moment and that you're a part of it. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Levi Kennedy, my granddad, was a no-nonsense, very serious man of God. Whatever he put his mind to do, he put it, his whole life into it. And so therefore he would not accept failure, in other words. He didn't stop at Michigan Avenue. He was involved with churches all over the brotherhood. He was the first minister, first man of our culture that did missionary work. As you know, I'm the executive director for I Am. I Am had not been, a reality if it wasn't for Levi Kennedy.
But Michigan Avenue was built in 1943 by the Brother Kennedy and the members of the church. They actually built that church in 1943.
And Brother Kennedy would put his overalls on and he would come down there and work along with the other men. So, and by me living next door there, I would see them over there working,
Brother Kennedy was a type of preacher, and of course his name is Levi Kennedy, a minister that he did not have elders and deacons in the church during his tenure. He did not ordain them. But he had men working with him, in which they were called at the time leading brothers that works alongside the minister. And of course, his main thing, I guess he kind of looked at Paul and how Paul went out and established churches in different areas. And when he established those churches, he would leave men there to carry the work on, but he would go back and check on them to make sure everything is going on. That was what Brother Kennedy did. He established so many works, spread the gospel all over the city of Chicago. In most cases, there's not a church in Chicago that Brother Kennedy didn't plant. But I mean, he started that work. And then he would train men to preach the gospel. And then he would send them out to carry on that work.
In 1951, 52, I'm thinking a young man came about 20-some years old from Lucy, Tennessee. His name was Samuel Jordan. And Luke, L stand for Luke. So he was mentored by Brother Kennedy for about 6-7 years. He sent him, and once he was mentored, he sent him to Seattle, Washington. And in Seattle, Washington, he was the preacher of a church there, the Holgate Church of Christ. And Brother Jordan was there probably 8 years.
The kids, everybody, loved him. So he spent a lot of time with us. All of my siblings and my cousins, he would be at my grandparents. So we would all, gather around and talk to him. And he just entertained us and was very personable, very easy to talk to. So then after I graduated from college and came to Chicago, he and his wife would pick me up I was living with my aunt at the time, and she was not a member of the Church of Christ. So they would pick me up on weekends and take me to their house. I would spend the weekends at their house. And then after Sunday night service, they would drop me back out at my aunt's house.
Yeah, it was a large congregation. And before Brother Kennedy passed, he passed in 1997. Not 97, but 1970. Before he passed, the membership was about 600. And we had a lot of young people. There was a lot of young people there. And of course, a lot of different activities that was going on at that congregation.
Well, I tell you, Brother Kennedy was that type of person that he interacted with all his young people and all. So it was just good to go there and to worship. Now I tell you about me. When I started going to Michigan Avenue, for some reason I was a person that kind of wanted to be around the older people. And one older person in particular was Brother Willie Carter's aunt, and her name was Eudora Whitfield. She said, I'm looking for somewhere to live. And I'm looking for me an apartment because she wasn't married, it was only her. And so I just told her right off, I said, well, when you find a place big enough for me. And she said, you really mean that? And I said, yes, I do. So that's how I got in with her. And we lived right there next door to Michigan Avenue for all the time that I lived with her, about 6.5 or 7 years until I got married.
On a similar respect, with my grandmother being the daughter of Levi Kennedy, she was, born into much of it herself. And she would have been 3 years old, I believe at the time, Michigan Avenue. So she was at some point was the oldest living member of the Michigan Avenue Sheldon Heights church. So the church and our family are just so connected, from church family to leadership in the church in a variety of areas, from that point all the way to today, looking at some of the elders, deacons, and leadership in the church. Even with my grandmother being a Sunday school teacher, running the dining department, and then my Aunt Jean running the kitchen, and then looking at other congregations within the Brotherhood, within Chicago and beyond, just seeing the legacy that my great-grandfather, Levi Kennedy, my great-grandmother, Noveline Kennedy, my grandmother, Helen Pryor, you could just see how it is, what they built just spread out. And it's just been amazing. So I'm just humbled to be a part of that history, a part of that legacy. So much of all of our lives, Pryors, Kennedys, I'm sure that answer is pretty similar to many who've come up in the church. A lot of their personal lives, business lives are all intertwined within the church. So at some point, a lot of it becomes one and the same, which is ultimately the purpose behind church, behind it being not about the building, but about the people. And it's what allows us to have these larger conversations.